I'll never forget the day my daughter Emily received that antique doll as a birthday gift. It was an elegant porcelain doll with a serene expression. At first everything seemed fine, but strange occurrences soon began. Late at night, I'd hear soft, melodic laughter coming from Emily's room, yet she would be fast asleep. The doll's eyes seemed to follow me, and its smile appeared to widen. It was as if it had a life of its own. One night, I awoke to find the doll standing at the foot of my bed, staring at me with lifeless eyes. The room was icy cold, and the air was thick with an eerie presence. I couldn't take it any longer, and decided to get rid of the doll. We left it on the doorstep of a nearby antique shop, hoping to be rid of it for good. But when I returned home, the doll was sitting in Emily's room smiling more malevolently than ever. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, that the doll couldn't possibly have made its way back into our home. But every night I could hear Emily whispering to the doll, and strange symbols started appearing on the walls of her room. One night, I woke up to find Emily standing at the foot of my bed, holding the doll with a twisted smile on her face. Her eyes were black as coal, and she spoke in a voice that wasn't her own. The doll had taken over my daughter's body. I screamed for help, but no one came. It was just me, alone with this possessed doll and my daughter's lifeless body. I knew then that I had made a grave mistake by ever bringing that cursed doll into our home. As I reached out for Emily, the doll's eyes suddenly lit up with a blood-red glow. Its porcelain hand tightened around Emily's throat, choking the life out of her. I could hear struggling to break free from the doll's grasp. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I grabbed the antique vase from the nightstand and smashed it against the doll's head. The porcelain shattered into pieces, and the doll fell to the ground, lifeless. As soon as the doll hit the floor, Emily collapsed onto the bed, gasping for breath. Her eyes slowly regained their color, and she looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Mom," she whispered. "What happened?" I took a deep breath and gathered her in my arms, holding her tightly. "It's okay, baby," I murmured, kissing the top of her head. "We're both okay now." But deep down, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. That cursed doll had brought darkness into our lives that we could never fully shake off. In a small, forgotten town, there lived a reclusive and gifted puppet craftsman named Mr. Loomis. He was known for creating exquisite, lifelike puppets that seemed to come alive in the hands of their puppeteers. But his most famous creation, a doll named Isabella, held a sinister secret. One gloomy evening, a curious traveler named Sarah arrived in town, drawn by the tales of Mr. Loomis's craftsmanship. She hoped to purchase one of his puppets as a unique addition to her collection. When she entered Mr. Loomis's dimly lit shop, she was immediately captivated by the intricate puppets on display. However, it was Isabella that truly caught her eye. With her porcelain face and delicate flowing dress, she was the most enchanting puppet Sarah had ever seen. She couldn't resist the urge to purchase her despite a strong warning from Mr. Loomis to treat Isabella with care and never to perform her at night. Sarah took Isabella home, and that very night began her first puppetry performance with the puppet. To her amazement, Isabella moved with a grace and realism that exceeded any other puppet Sarah had ever owned. The audience was enthralled, and Sarah's performances became the talk of the town. But as time passed, strange events began to unfold. Every night, Sarah would wake to find Isabella sitting at the foot of her bed, strings tangled and limbs twisted into distorted positions. No matter how securely Sarah locked her in the display case, Isabella would always return to Sarah's bedside. Disturbed by this behavior, Sarah sought out Mr. Loomis for an explanation. He reluctantly admitted that Isabella was not like his other puppets. She was made from a rare enchanted wood that harbored the soul of a vengeful spirit. Mr. Loomis had unwittingly bound the spirit to the puppet while crafting it. Terrified but determined to free herself from Isabella's malevolent presence, Sarah delved into books on the occult and learned of a ritual to break the bond between the doll and the vengeful spirit. With great trepidation, she performed the ritual, watching as Isabella writhed and shrieked in agony. When it was over, Isabella lay lifeless on the ground. Sarah thought the curse had been broken, but her relief was short-lived. That night, she heard faint, ghostly weeping coming from the puppet. When she looked at the doll, she saw tears streaming from its porcelain eyes. Desperate to end the torment, Sarah buried Isabella in the town's old cemetery. But even in her grave, the puppet's presence lingered. Legend has it that on stormy nights, the mournful sound of Isabella's strings can still be heard echoing through the cemetery, a haunting reminder of the puppet craftsman's dark secret and the cursed doll that would never be truly silenced.